Hello, brother Alan. Alan Tafoya, everybody. How are you, Alan?
I'm good. How about you, man?
I am good. I'm very glad to see you. Happy New Year and happy Christmas. Happy
Yeah,
holidays. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So where are you right now?
Right now, my wife and I were in Chicago.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the
visiting her family.
Oh, nice, nice. What's the weather like?
It's cold, but it's not like snowing or anything right now. So, but
Okay. Okay.
it warmed up more today. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, and then tomorrow we'll be back in the New York City, back in the city.
That's right. The proud Big Apple. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good.
Oh God. I've been going through a lot.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else, this COVID thing has been a real mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
and it's really done a lot of damage, in every way possible,
Wow.
to so many people, that we know or people around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about a friend of mine. She just passed away a couple of days ago on Christmas Eve.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
Her name was Catherine Green, and we've known each other since like in our early 20s. And being being in the entertainment business or being an artist such as yourself, um, you get the image that people want to represent or that they are representing, or it's just really hard to find someone who's, like, in my opinion, just themselves and very down to earth.
Right, right, right.
I'm thankful that people recognize me as being an artist, but I'm also just a person,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm thankful in a lot of ways that I look at a lot of the more like famous people, like, you can say Johnny Depp or
yeah.
people in that category, the A-list actors or actors that are being kind of sold right now. It's even hard for them to. I feel sorry for them.
Yeah,
I'm happy
yeah,
with my life. Even
yeah,
though they're exploring success or these amazing experiences. Um, I think you just kind of have to be happy for yourself.
yeah, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and um, and if you're happy with yourself and your relationships, be it spiritual or earthly, then you're good. You're ahead of the game,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, you said share something, so I will. um, I have an uncle in Dulce, New Mexico. That's like the town that the Jicarilla Apache Nation. That's our mainframe. Dulce's the little town,
Okay, okay, okay.
and it's kind of like in a 5 to maybe a 10-mile radius now. Because I'm not there.
Right, right,
So when
right.
I go back, more things are being built, and the township's kind of getting a little bit more spread out. So,
But it's still
um,
small. It's still pretty
yeah,
small.
but it's still a small town. It's not like anything compared to like even towns that have like a couple of working gas stations and a
Right,
couple of
right, right, right.
grocery stores. We
Hmm.
have one tribal store, a couple of gas stations, depending on whether they're, doing the maintenance or not.
Right, right,
But
right.
my point being is that the story. I have an uncle, and his name is Raymond Tafoya, and
Okay.
he's like the official um Jicarilla Apache Nation medicine man.
Oh
And
no,
he does a
nice.
lot he does a lot of the ceremonies, especially what we call the coming out feast. Is when the girl becomes a woman, when she has her first issue, then she goes through a 4-day ceremony to bring her from being that girl to her path to
To
becoming a man.
womanhood.
Yeah.
Mm.
And they have the family will ask a brave to be with her, because the ceremony is between a man and a woman. And so he does a lot of those, and he can probably do prayers for you or whatever. But I remember that we used to have a casino right in town, and I went there with my father, who was still alive at the time, and he was Chief Raleigh Tafoya Sr. He was the chief of police,
Hmm.
a strong tribal leader. And we went there to have lunch, and just to be at the casino to show our presence at the casino.
Right, right.
And so Uncle Raymond's there, and obviously, like, as soon as we sit down, I can see there's something on Uncle Raymond's mind. He's
Uh,
affectionately called Hot Tea also. So I don't know where
oh,
that came from,
okay.
but
I was about to ask you, can
yeah,
you
yeah,
what
or they'll call him
other?
Raymond, or they'll call him Raymond T.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, and he just has this look on his face, and I was an investigator at the time, so obviously I'm looking at this guy, and he looks troubled, very somber, very
Okay.
and thinking of something that's obviously very deep.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm kind of like, "What's up, Uncle? What's wrong?"
Right, right.
And
Because you're watching where his eyes are going and stuff. Yes.
yeah, just watching him, his demeanor, and
Right,
how
right.
he usually is when I see him. And I look at my dad, and my dad just kind of does this thing, shh, be quiet.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of look at my dad, um, caught me by surprise. I was like a bit taken back, like, what the hell? What am I missing here, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And so I go, okay. So we get our food and we sit down, and I guess the wheels are just turning in my Uncle Raymond's head. And
Right.
finally, he speaks, and he tells us this story. We have this little beaver celebration that happens every third weekend of July, and they
Oh,
have rodeos and carnivals and dog shows and car shows and rock shows and every kind of show on earth, probably.
nice. Sounds
And
exciting.
yeah, and they have parades and powwows and baseball tournaments and mud bogging. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And so other peoples from other counties and other tribes come over to Dulce. They're our guests. So that's the big party time.
Okay.
And so he says, a long time ago, he said that some of the people that come in together, sometimes they don't always get along. So, the tension starts, or maybe they
Mm-hmm.
might even escalate to a physical conflict, which hopefully doesn't happen, but it happens. It happens everywhere.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
and he was just saying, they kind of bring that spirit in with them, or they create it as the situation arises. Whether it's the ill will of, like, why is that guy looking at me, or I'm gonna go slap that guy in the head, or whatever. Whatever the tension
Right.
is.
Right.
And he says they bring it to the reservation. He said, and it's bad. He said, because it creates kind of like a chain reaction when something finally happens. Kind of paraphrasing some of it just for modern purposes.
Sure.
And so I look at him and I'm like, who is it, right? And the ultimate investigator question, who is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad looks at me and he goes, shh. And at this point, I'm kind of like, okay,
Right.
shut up,
Right.
shut up.
Yeah. Still intrigued though.
Yeah, so he's still thinking. And then he says, anyway, he says it builds the tension. He says, and things start moving around, like the intentions that create darkness or strife, or, call these kind of spiritual. Who knows what spiritual
Entities.
beings surround us in other dimensions? We don't know,
Right.
but it's
Right.
there, more
Oh.
real than this.
Right. Right. Right.
And so he says, anyway, he said, we built a big fire outside. He said, and we were all sleeping. He said, and it started, like, he says, I was like starting to dream. So he's like in a sleep state, but yet he can see everything. And he says that he's seen this person coming, like the powwow grounds from my uncle's house, I'm going to say, is maybe about a mile. But if you
Whoa.
walk straight in a straight line, and then you have to go through this kind of deep gully and come up on the other side. But he says that there was a person coming toward their camp. He said, and that person isn't invited. He said, you don't go places where you're not invited. just
Whoa.
common sense wisdom, right? He
Right.
says, and this guy's walking toward our house. He said, he's coming to our house. He says, I don't know why. I don't know him. So he says, eventually the guy gets there to within the eye shot of the camp. And he gets up, and I guess he can feel like this person doesn't have a right spirit. There's something dark about them, or there's something, either their own intention or something that somebody hung off them.
Sure. Yeah.
And so um, he tells them, well, you're not invited, just basically tells them, you're not invited. You're not welcome. You're not invited. I'm sorry. Maybe you can go over here to this place or whatever, because he just has this sense about it. And then he says, he stood there, he says, and he just stared at us. He said, and it's funny how the older people talk, he's like, they get kind of spooky, he said. I don't know what, maybe the guy was just glaring at him or what was going on, but
Right.
obviously there was some nonverbal communication going on very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that the guy just turned around and started walking away. But when he started walking away, he said that the rain came down and it just poured. So they were all outside, sleeping outside by the fire. They all had to go inside and sleep inside.
Right. Right. Right.
But he said, the reason why I'm telling you this, he says, is pray for rain. He said, because when the bad things start building up, he said people's intentions, or he said people can use witchcraft, or people can use other means, he said, but he said there's a lot of things that we don't understand. He said, but we know it's there. He said, so he said when it rains, he said it just cleans everything out of those different
Dimensions.
skies or
Yeah.
dimensions,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. It's real
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So I had a picture on Facebook where I was smiling because it was the first snow maybe about a week ago or a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I had an appointment. It was quite a ways. It was quite a walk from our apartment. But I thought, how many times am I ever in New York City and it just snows? So
Right.
I
Right.
just walked all the way. It kind of froze my butt off, but it was just nice to be out there. And that's the story that I thought about that I just shared with you. So whenever it rains or whenever it snows, that's why my uncle, he says pray for rain,
Right. Right.
because a lot of things are going to happen in the future, he said. And he said that rain will help to kind of clear things out. He said maybe things won't
It's
happen as bad.
it's a cleansing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow.
anyway, that's
Very
what just came to my mind when you asked me.
very fascinating. Well, I want to ask you about your trade, your expertise, and your talent. Being an actor. Now you've acted in L.A. and
Hmm.
you've done some acting since you've been here in New York. Can you share with me some of the filmed or stage work that you've done just in your career as an actor?
And
Some of
as what?
maybe like some of the titles of some of the
Oh,
events or
well,
movies that you've been in.
well, I'm gonna start from by saying that although I had always been drawn to the acting arts,
Mhm.
mainly because we used to read a lot of I had an English class where we would read plays,
Right, right.
and we read the play, and the lady encouraged us to become really a part of what was going on within the realm of the scene.
Right.
I was going through a lot in my young life at that time, so I just immediately put on the energy of whatever I was going to into the reading, because there seemed to be some themes that were matching my situation. And so I got into it, and it really freaked her out. I remember she just like was like, "Are you need to calm down?" And I was like, I couldn't believe that I had a teacher that was trying to stifle a creative process. And so,
You
they say,
what were you a little bit too intense for her or
I
something?
think so. But
Mm.
anyway, I've always had a bit of a flirtation with acting along my young life, my junior high and high school life, but there was never like an idea of like I'm seriously gonna become an actor, right?
Oh
And
wow.
that's why I'm so blown away by these young kids that I encounter, like in LA and in New York City. Why even now more so common in New Mexico because there's more filming out there and
Right.
TV series. But that these young kids actually like have an idea of what they think they want. And I say it that way because I mean sometimes you jump into something and you find out it's not for you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
I'm
Very
gonna
very
be
true.
I'm gonna be like Sugar Ray Leonard, and then you step into a couple of hard sparring matches and leave, you know, with your head beat in a little bit, you know.
Right. Right.
Then you
Ears
kind of
ears
realize, like,
buzzing and everything.
yeah,
Right.
I'm just really amazed by just the passion and just the how they chase their passions. These younger generation, it's just amazing to see it, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
and so um when I got into to an acting, it was actually kind of by a mistake, as far as becoming professional or even having an idea of like, wow, I could be an actor, right?
Yeah.
Um, it was a stage play in Farmington, New Mexico, at the amphitheater at the San Juan College. It was called the Black River Traders.
Okay.
Um, my my then wife, who's my ex-wife now, she thought that it was a film thing. So we went to Farmington. I was going there for my own reasons. I was more on the musician side.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so you know, guitar strings and check out the new guitars and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we go out there, then we end up going to this thing, and it's an audition, all right. I don't know what to do, you know.
Right.
I was clueless, man. We got in there and we auditioned. They finally gave us the script. We did a reading, and they really seemed pretty hot toward my ex-wife. You know, they really wanted her to be in the play. And then they asked me if I would call me. They called me like 2 weeks later and said, "Would you do this part?" And I said, "Well, it basically takes me about 2 to 2.5 hours to get from Dulce to Farmington, so it's just not worth my time because it's such a small role, right?"
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
And
Right.
so that was my thinking at the time. See, there was no like I'm gonna chase down this acting thing, right?
Right. Right.
So then they decide like they want me to do a dual role, to be the good guy, the strong Navajo leader that stands up for good, and then be the bad Ute native that comes in and causes some disruption. So they offered me a dual role. And so of course I had to talk to my boss, my father at the time, and said I'm really interested in doing this, and it's only going to be from May to August, you know, a month
Mhm.
rehearsal time, and then we hit the stage. So that's how I got into it, and I got really intrigued after that. You know, just watching the other actors that had more experience than me. It was just really interesting. Like I had so many questions after every rehearsal, you know, and
Right. Right.
I
Right.
ask them for help. I mean, you know, at the time, I mean, you don't
Mhm.
ask, you don't learn, in my opinion. So,
Right.
and they were nice enough. There was a lot of good actors and actresses that had way more experience. Like you could tell, like, you know, they went to acting school and all
Right.
of
Right.
that, right?
But they seem to be genuine
Yeah,
as far as advice and support. Right.
it was lovely, really, because a lot of them actually pulled me aside, even the women, and you know, and they would just like make a suggestion on it. I'd try it, you
Yeah.
know.
Very
They
good.
that
Well.
man, I was so green. I mean, come on,
Mm.
I could should just wore fluorescent green.
Well, since these green days, though, tell me what. Give me some of your background. What?
Well, you know what? I did that, and I still didn't really know about the acting thing. I mean, seriously, you know, it was just something that I liked. So I
Mhm.
thought, well, I'll try out for a film. So I went out for an audition for this thing called The Gunfighters of the West. This was like around 99, 2000. The
Okay.
play was, I think, in 99, or yeah. And so I auditioned for The Gunfighters of the West, and it didn't happen. And I actually just said, well, I tried and it didn't work, so I guess acting's not for me, right? And I liked my job. I was an investigator. I did like my job, and it does
Right.
require a certain amount of acting and, you know,
And
becoming
rusing.
another
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
And so I think it's just more intense because the stakes are for real. You know, when you're an investigator, there's really no time for bullshit. You know. I
Right,
hope,
right.
I hope.
It's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
okay, and so anyway, I just said, okay, I guess I'm not meant to be an actor, and I just I went about my life, right? But I was happy that I had that experience. I was really stoked about it, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got called in by a casting director, Teresa Neptune, and her assistant Elizabeth, I believe. Um, I could be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong. But anyway, they said they want to. Can you ride a horse? I'm like, yeah, I can ride a horse. You know, my family had two ranches. I grew up doing ranch work, so yeah, I could ride a horse.
Cool.
And so I go, yeah. So they said, well, they want to see you. So they set up an appointment where I had to audition on horse in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I did that.
Nice.
And one of my treats in my life was my dad drove me out there because he was curious, because he was like, you need to be an investigator or you need to be an actor. He just kind of had this thing where like I had to choose, you know, and I was like,
Yeah, sure.
why can't I do both, you know? Because as an investigator, you do so much overtime that I had tons of overtime. If I needed to take a month off to do a movie, I could do it, you know, get paid.
Right, right.
And so anyway, it turned out that it was all the pretty horses, and Billy Bob Thornton was the director for that, and Matt Damon was on it, and you know,
Right, right.
Penelope Cruz and a host of others. And so I did my friend. She trained Black Arabian horses, so the horse really made me look good. I have to say. I mean, she told me do this and do this, and the horse will respond. And I looked like a master out there, and it was just because Sandy Claypool had that horse trained.
Very nice.
And so I did that, and I didn't hear a car, nothing. So I kind of just said, well, I guess, you know, I tried the acting thing. I guess the creator doesn't want me to be an actor, you know. And I'm making good money being an investigator, and I like my job. Um, so they called me back the third time, and they said, can you come in for a meeting? I said, yeah. And I said, why? And they said, well, Billy Bob Thornton wants to meet with you. And I was like, oh my God, wow. You know, I didn't think I was going to get that far, right? My
Right,
first
right.
time. So anyway, I ended up getting on there on the set, and it was so much, it was funny because I really didn't know who Matt Damon was. And I didn't really know who Henry Thomas was. And I ended up sitting between them when I was waiting for this meeting with Billy Bob Thornton because I was going to leave the set. I was not happy with my first experience on a movie set. I was going to leave. They stopped me and they said, Billy Bob wants to talk to you. So they offered me to be like what they called a featured extra. I'm going to be the right hand man to the lead actor. And
Very
I thought,
nice.
wow, that's crazy. So I said, of course I'll do it, right? I
Yeah, yeah.
might never get this chance again in my life. And
Sure.
that
Yeah.
was that was basically my first venture into the real film world. And from there I got my SAG card with the Hallmark Hall of Fame film where I played like a Navajo elder and a bus driver. And I've just been able to have some successes, you know, like I did the Deadliest Warrior. I think has to be for me the most satisfying situation.
Oh, wow. And is there anybody that you can name that's in that particular piece?
Actually, I would say it's more along the lines that the series The Deadliest Warrior on Spike TV was one of the most popular TV series as
Oh,
far
okay.
as reality TV.
I
And
see.
they
I see.
pit ethnic culture against another culture. And for our segment, it was Apaches versus gladiators.
Oh, wow.
And they pick two guys that are spokesperson for the gladiators, and they do the weapons test, and then we do our share and our talking, and you know, conflict eventually happens. And they had Chuck Liddell on their side, the famous UFC fighter Chuck Liddell.
Okay.
He was
Okay.
on their side, and it was really interesting to be a part of that, you know, to see Chuck Liddell hit that bag, man. I mean, when you see that up close, you know why he put a lot of people to sleep, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
Ouch.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad that's not me, you know.
So I've got a question for you. And as you know, my format is art, music, and literature.
Okay.
That's me. That's what I'm about. But
Right.
so keeping that in mind, if you could be in one of these past classic golden era Hollywood films,
Okay.
which one of these would you be in? Casablanca, A Streetcar Named Desire,
Ugh.
or The Godfather, the first one?
Oh God, those are some tough ones. Just three?
That's it.
Oh my
It'll,
God.
it'll get more.
That,
It'll get more complicated, brother. If I gave you 4 or 5,
oh
if
my
those
God.
are tough.
You know, I just feel I'm 57 now, which is
Bravo.
totally like wow. I never thought I'd be 57. I live such a crazy life at times.
Wow.
But I'm just so thankful that I grew up when I grew up like in the
Yeah.
60s and the 70s. I
Mm.
got to see a lot of the best in the music world and in the film world, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
Ben-Hur was just so surreal at that time when I was a young boy, just how
Wow. Yeah.
intense everything was, you know.
Hmm.
But look, going back to what you just said, oh my God, I love the story of Streetcar Named Desire. And when I first started, it's funny you should say that because when I started out as a young actor, you know, they start saying, well, you should go out and get a book of monologues and, you know, start
Sure.
learning these monologues so that you can
Hmm.
start getting the idea of what it takes.
Right.
And I got this men's monologue, and there was one from the Streetcar Named Desire, you know, the Marlon Brando thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, anytime you talk about Streetcar Named Desire, the first thing everybody says is Stella, you know, which is kind of cliche to me, honestly. I'm sick of it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
because there was so much more to that character. Oh my God, he was so heartless and menacing and shit, you know. And you look at it, and I think like, oh my God, that was me when I was young, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just you know, when you're young,
You were on fire, huh? When you were
yeah,
young.
yeah,
Wow.
and
Wow.
just real passionate about everything. Oh my God.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So is that your choice of those three?
um, I really
Godfather,
like The
Casablanca.
Godfather, but
Yeah.
I think I really just like it because of what Brando did in it. He was just so classically, I mean, everybody was good in it, the whole cast and everything, but
Sure. Sure.
Brando just had some great scenes that I
Oh
just
yeah.
love, you know.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. I mean, he kind of got blackballed from Hollywood, and then he had to come back and kind of reinvent himself in a way, you know. And then he does it with The Godfather. Then he turns around and he denies the actor because he's standing up for the American Indians at Wounded Knee, and it was just like so amazing what he did. He really put
Right.
his butt on the
Yeah.
line
That's
for the
right.
American Indians.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
there's not very many people that do that, you know. I mean,
Right.
we got to
Right.
get
What?
real here.
He denied the Oscar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, because of the treatment of the American Indians and uh,
Wow. How
um,
do you remember? Do you remember how people of your culture and environment responded to that?
I think most people, like everyone else, I guess, depending on where your mindset is with regard to the Oscars. I mean, back then, if somebody had told me this what happened, I would have been like, "Really? What's that?"
I see. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clueless, you know, as
Yeah.
compared to these young people that know what they want now. They would
Right.
be like,
Right.
"That's the Oscars, don't you know? The
Yeah.
Academy
Yeah.
Award."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think that everybody was like kind of like, wow, they just were like, can't believe he did it. And then some people were like,
Yeah.
yeah, right, this is just a ploy, you know, because you got
Right.
so
Just the
many
front. Yeah.
people. Yeah. But I think in the long run, you know, everybody, I think they should respect him for his stance for the American Indian because, man, what a platform to do it on. I mean, some people stand up for stuff, but they're not going to do it at the height of a huge platform like
Yeah.
that. I mean, it
That's
did
true.
do some damage to his career, I'm sure, you know.
Hmm.
And he just laid it on the line. I mean, damn, you got to
Yeah,
respect him for that. And on top of that, he was one of our best actors ever.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm guessing, because you've kind of beat around the bush. I guess it's a streetcar named Desire, right?
yeah, yes. I'd have to go with that because I love the writing. I just think it's an
Okay.
incredible
You
story.
just skipped over the whole Casablanca, huh? You just kind of
Yeah,
threw that over to the
yeah,
side.
yeah. You know, people talk about Casablanca, and
Yeah.
I think I'm really gonna have to just go back and lock myself in a room and just watch it again. You know, we live in a
Yeah, yeah.
world where even if you see something on TV, they have so many damn commercials. You
Oh
know,
God, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you know what? I have to say that I have a tendency to shy against things that people tend to gravitate toward, like the popular thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me
Like,
too at times, yeah.
yeah, and I always just kind of hated that because everybody makes you feel like you gotta go with the tide, right? What's wrong
Right.
with you? Don't you like Star Wars or you know?
So about going with the flow of everybody else's
Yeah,
choice. Yeah.
anytime there's always been a push towards something popular, I just immediately have this tendency, even to this day, to just stay away from it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you
get it.
know?
I get it. That's
And
cool.
a funny thing about that is like my oldest daughter, Nadia, she's like, she come up to
Nice
me, but
name.
Dad, did you see this? It was on TV and blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, nope, don't know what you're talking about, right? And she'll tell
And probably not gonna rush to see it either, huh?
yeah. It's like, oh my God, Dad, you're an actor and you don't even know what's going on TV. I mean, she's just like on it, you know?
uh,
She'll
if
talk
you,
about movies, and I just have that. I mean, the only movie that I really got really excited about in recent years, just totally out of sheer curiosity, like how are they going to pull this shit off, is Joker
oh wow, wow, wow.
with
I thought you were gonna say something like Avatar or something, but
I have no actually
wow.
I have no interest in
No,
Avatar.
I
As
just
weird as it sounds.
wow. Shh, shh. James Cameron may want you for a part. You can't. Shh.
Well, sorry, but
But
if
wow,
if
wow,
he
yeah,
gets me, he gets honesty, and I will put 150% into doing
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
I get picked up for.
So Joker, were you pleased with the outcome of what you saw?
Oh my God, I was like, what? My first mistake about going to see it was I went to a movie theater and I sat in the middle. A lot of the cinematography is so in your face
Hmm.
that you kind of need to back off a little bit so you can see it in its entirety.
Right, right, right.
And so I went the first time though, and I was just blown away. I was just blown away. Just
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. It
had
was pretty intense.
I haven't seen an actor use physicality to express that character the way Joaquin
Joaquin,
Phoenix did in a
right,
long time. And there's been some actors that have done like some physical transformations that are just insane, you know.
right, right. Yeah,
Um,
like
but
Matthew McConaughey and the
the
Um,
Dallas Buyers Club or something
Dallas
like that,
Buyers
right?
Club. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So much to say it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, but
And
yeah, but there,
even Christian Bale, he lost weight. I never saw that movie, but he lost like half his body weight. What was it? Was it
the mechanic,
the
right?
mechanic? Was it?
I think
Is,
so. I could be
is
wrong.
that? Yeah.
But the whole
What?
thing was just so interesting because they made it so clear, and I'm glad that they did. But when they were doing the interviews with Joaquin and the director, you know,
Hmm.
they were saying that the Joker was not like a DC Joker comic thing, but it was a character study, and it really was. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you know, a lot of people they said that they felt like it put a bad light on mental illness. I didn't think so. It was just so sad. I mean, when
Well,
he's laughing, but yet he's crying. Oh my God,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
movie just did not
What
have.
kind of light can you really? I mean, if it's an illness, and they were true to playing the tragic aspect of it,
Yeah,
then that's what you would get in a lot of cases.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm not saying people getting murdered or anything, but
Yeah.
you're going to see the not so good light. I mean, we're in a
Yeah.
time where everybody has to be apologetic about something, or coming back to apologize about something they said or did. But no,
It,
that was
it,
pretty spot
it,
on.
exactly. And even the comment that you just made about society, you
Mm,
know. Oh
hmm.
no, I totally agree in a lot of ways.
Right.
But like,
Well,
yeah, that's been one movie that really got me. That really got me was just how brilliant he was. How everybody was good on that movie.
right,
You know?
right,
You look at a movie, the movie's good usually because the whole ensemble or the whole cast, they're all really good at the character that they did, you know.
right, right.
So yeah. Wow. Anyway,
If
it
you
was
had one last question before we go, so to say,
mm,
if you had one bit of advice in a nutshell for an actor, male or female, what would you offer them? Somebody that's just getting started, and someone that does have a passion, and even if they haven't fully decided, but they have a curiosity about acting, what would you say
what
to them?
what I
Sitting,
would
sitting in a room or one on one with them, what would you say?
what I would say to them, or even like if I was talking to a group of people, which is what I have said in the past,
Okay.
is, you know, a lot of people get into acting, into music, or anything that has to do with art. A lot of people, um, they get into it for various reasons, you know. Um, some want to get rich, some want to get famous, some want respect, whatever you want to label, you know. um Being the life of being an artist, you know, an actor, a musician, a singer, songwriter, or what you do, illustration and music and
Or an
everything.
author.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard life. It's a hard life, you know. You don't get a pension, you know.
That's right. Right.
What benefits do you get, like if you had a regular job, you know?
Mm.
And what are your reasons for wanting to get into it, you know? As the years have gone on for me, and hopefully I'm not done for a while, I just, the one thing I would tell anyone, whether you want to be an actor or a music person or an artist or whatever, is just do what you do because you love it, because it's just something that you would do whether people knew that you did it or not, you know. It
Right.
just brings you that joy. You're just excited, you know. I mean, there's times where I put the guitar down and I don't touch it for a while, but when I pick it up and I start learning new stuff, like lately I've been in a kind of a thing where I've been just learning stuff. We're here in
Yeah.
Chicago, and Cynthia's father and his wife Karen, they have this electric piano downstairs that it's like it's a piano, and but it's got synthesizer stuff, like it can be a grand piano, it can be.
Right. Right. Right.
And early in my music, I had a Yamaha keyboard, and when I hear music, I usually hear everything: the strings, the horns,
Yeah.
the
Same for me.
vocal
Yeah.
harmonies, and everything. But I just love doing music or acting really because I love to do it. I would do it because I want to, you know.
Right.
Even if you do get famous, enjoy the hell out of it if you do, because it's a real short time, you know.
Hmm.
A lot of people think that that it seems like a long time, but everything's changed with technology these days, even people's mindsets. Like, you know, some actors could ride on a big film for like maybe a year to 2 years. Ask me who won the Oscars 2 years ago. It's sad, but I can't tell you, you know,
Right. Right.
because
Right.
everything just moves so fast now. So if
Yeah.
you're going to do acting, all I got to say is just within yourself, know that you're doing it because you love it. And you'll know if you walk away from it and you have to go back, it doesn't leave your mind, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You yearn to be a part of it,
Yeah.
you know. It'll tell you. But as time's gone on, as an actor, to me it's just kind of like martial arts was my form of self-discovery, and music became my form of self-discovery. Now, music and acting, but acting for myself as a human being, as an actor, it's just studying human nature and presenting it as realistic as possible, you know.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And so just do whatever you want to do because you love it, whether you like to put a smile on people's faces at your local theater, or if you really want to break into films, just do it because you get excited about doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brother Alan, thank you so much for taking the time out in the windy city of Chicago and speaking with me about stories and acting and your experience. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Lord Toph, for your friendship, and
Absolutely.
you have been an absolute blessing to me in my life, and I appreciate very much. And I know the struggles that you go through in the sense of us being artists, you know.
Right.
2020, everything that I had my hands on just totally got blown out of the water.
Wow.
Everything. I was days away from doing a project overseas, and the COVID hit, and in 2 days' time, it was
Wow.
like I gotta leave New York City and get back to New Mexico. So just for all those people out there that watch this, that are going through the COVID thing, and you're an artist or your business went down, like, I am so sorry. You just gotta try to stay strong for another day.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Well, happy holidays, my friend.
Yeah.
And a very happy New Year to you and Cynthia and the family.
Yeah, you too, man. And it's good to see you.
It's good seeing you also.